Welcome to 40s and Free Agents. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I am with my friend Daniel Jeremiah, and we are talking about maybe my favorite division in all of football. I did a whole episode, DJ, about why we love the NFC South on NFL Daily, which is a great podcast, and I have a feeling people listen to both. Do you love the NFC South?
I have to love the NFC South because Jason Light will give me a hard time if I somehow disrespect the team or aren't including them in some discussion. So
is that your buddy?
They're always front of mind. Yeah, I've known Jason forever. So there was, I don't even know, this happened maybe like 10 years ago or something, but some list or one of these conversations, and he gave me a hard time about it. So then now anytime a discussion comes up, I always still kind of think about the Bucs. Like, am I forget? Because you just kind of, that division's never really front of mind. They don't get a lot of buzz or a lot of attention. And then you kind of look up and a team like Tampa has been very consistently good for quite some time now.
Front of mind for me.
On top of that, yeah.
I think they're Super Bowl contenders this year. So I'll start there. And if you're just joining us here on 40s and Free Agent, what we're doing 2 shows a week leading up to the NFL season. We're going through every single division, and we're talking about the top 5 impact players added this offseason in terms of veterans, and then the top 5 rookies. And we'll apply what we've heard and seen so far in the offseason to that too. And then we're going to have a couple fun episodes previewing the season right before that as well. I'm going to start with the Bucs then, because Haason Reddick to me was the type of signing, Daniel, that that's the type of signing is maybe the cherry on top for a potential Super Bowl contender. I really believe the Bucs are that good. I think they have a lot of room for improvement from where they were a year ago on defense. They have the right coach for it. And I think Reddick, who just had a totally lost year with the Eagles, with the Jets rather last year, is so forgettable. You almost forget he was there. I think he can give them what they need, which is a little more juice off the edge in terms of their pass rush.
Yeah, I like that fit there too. I seeing this team last year live, it was one of the most physical teams that I saw the whole season. And when you have Vita Vea, who was just a dominant player, and then you got Kancey, who can get up the field as an inside rusher, those are hard to find. And now you're able to complement them with kind of a fastball with Haason Reddick on the outside to go along with, Logan Hall, Elijah Roberts, who they drafted, are more physical kind of base players. So, and then Diaby's a freaking explosive, another explosive player. So they've got guys they can throw at you. But to me, I think that we don't necessarily always talk about them as the physical teams. But when you have an offensive line like they have with Wirfs and company, they move people on offense on their front, and defensively they can reset the line of scrimmage. So I'm a fan of how they approach the game there.
Here's what I know about a Todd Bowles defense. He's always going to bring the heat. And that if they're coming off a bad year, he almost always rebounds. If you look at his history as a coordinator, as a coach, and you look at the rankings in terms of his defenses, it's not perfect every single season. But if he has a bad year, he doesn't stay bad for long. And I think they got younger in the secondary. And then I think some of the additions they made, in the draft and then free agency. And then I do think Reddick is just a great candidate to bounce back, because he was one of the most consistent pass rushers in the league for about 3 years before that lost year with the Jets. All right, give me a rookie.
All right, I'll stay with that squad, and I'll go to Emeka Egbuka, first-round pick, wide receiver out of Ohio State, who's just, to me, like ready-made. There's some prospects when you draft them, and it's here's our development plan, and year one's going to look different than year 2 and year 3. He is ready-made. This is a clear packaging. You know exactly what you're getting with him. And when I pull up my notes on him, to me, and everything out of training camp, you tell me what you've read and heard, but the feedback I've gotten is that he's been excellent in camp thus far. But he's a little under 6'1", 200 pounds. He ran 4.48, strong, mature, physical. Those are the first 3 words that I wrote down. He can work in traffic. He's tough. He tracks the ball well down the field. He's really good with just, with late hands. You see guys put their hands up early and get themselves in trouble with pass breakups. He's really just instinctive and natural feel to it. And my comparison was his former teammate in Jackson Smith and Jigba, same school. So I'm really excited about him. I think he's ready to go. Those 2 receivers have played at such a high level for so long. Can't do it forever, Gregg. And I'm excited to see this next wave of guys they have, and he's going to be the leader of the class.
I don't know if there's a single rookie in the entire NFL that has more uniformly positive praised preseason camp reports than him. And I think it starts with Baker Mayfield. I mean, he was on I forget which podcast it was. I think it was Bussin' the Boys. And no, it was New Heights. And yeah, they asked him about camp, and like unprompted, he just said, Egbuka is such a dog. I'm so excited to play with him. He's so smart. He's so physical. And it was just an open-ended question about anything that stood out to me. Yeah. And he was just like, I can't believe we got to add this guy to what is already a really good room, which, by the way, has a nice young player in Jalon McMillan, who played really well late last year.
Caught suddenly, a bunch of touchdowns.
When Godwin gets healthy, he's the 4. Like that's what you want. And you have a good tight end, Cade Otton, too. Like, they're cooking with gas. To me, I think they are right there behind the Eagles as like, and the Lions are in that group too, as the favorites in the NFC.
Yeah, he's a really good player, and I if you look at receivers are going to make an impact right away, it's the guys who are smart. Like, you start first there. If you can't learn it, you're not going to be able to either be able to swallow all the information to get on the field, or when you're on the field, you're not going to play fast because you're trying to process and think through all this stuff. The smart guys tend to have an immediate impact because they can play at full speed. So that's Egbuka.
I don't know why these types of guys tend to fall in the draft. It's like, the receiver that just, does everything well, but isn't like quite as exciting. And there's so much uncertainty in the NFL draft that and I know even these players sometimes don't work out, but he just seemed like worst case scenario, he's going to help a lot. So I'm excited. And the comp, for him, other than Jackson Smith and Jigba, could be Chris Godwin. And that's going to be my second guy I mentioned. So we're going really Bucs heavy here. But I just thought it was worthwhile to point out that he had options to leave. And so to me, he was a free agency signing because we heard the offers that he was getting. The Patriots were reportedly willing to go much higher on Chris Godwin, and there were other teams I think that were going to give more. Tampa Bay came up; they're paying him $22 million a year. It was a great story of a team really earning a player's trust and vice versa, because he's coming off a really serious injury for the second time in his career. He's a little older, and I think with Egbuka, to kind of connect the two, they can be a little more conservative with his recovery now, DJ, because he doesn't have to go into the lineup right away. And it does not sound like he's going to be ready for the start of the season to me.
No, he's playoff. I mean, to me, his value is let's get to the meaningful games at the end of the year. Let's get into the postseason. I don't think they necessarily need him, which is a nice luxury to have. But all the different guys you mentioned, including an underrated tight end in Otton. So to me, take your time. Absolutely no rush whatsoever to get him back out there.
Right. And the reason I went Bucs heavy was just, all right, prove me wrong, rest of NFC South. When I'm thinking impact players, I'm thinking, all right, who's going to really matter in some big primetime games late in the season, in the playoffs? I think the Bucs are going to be in those games. And so that's why, to me, Reddick and Godwin really stuck out. But maybe the Falcons, maybe the Saints, maybe the Panthers will prove us wrong, and they'll be in that mix too. Like that, I'll just throw one thing at you. Like, which of those 3 teams, do you think has the best chance to make the playoffs other than the Bucs?
It's too early for Carolina. I would say, Atlanta is. There's a lot of talent there. I'm probably going to lead towards Atlanta on that one. I don't know if that's
feel the enthusiasm, Falcons fans.
Yeah,
I'm fired up.
No, I don't think they'll do anything when they get there, but I could see them pushing for it. And every time I talk about that, didn't they sweep the Bucs last year? Did Atlanta beat them twice? Because the Falcon fans.
They did. They had that Kirk.
They hammer me because I'm just not
500 yards.
I'm just not enthusiastic about them, and I can't fake it. So they always come out. Hey, we swept them. We're right there. Okay, all right. Well, you did. I can't refute that. I just don't share quite as much of the optimistic view there. So and the Saints are not going to be good. So, but again, Falcons are the best of that group. To me. I was just looking this up, and I didn't have a chance to pull this final number, but I'm putting these 2 guys together, the 2 first-round edge rushers for the Atlanta Falcons, and Walker and Pierce. So I think both these guys are really, really talented. Last year, the Falcons had 31 sacks. I was curious to see, and I don't think Walker and Pierce get to that 31, but they came close to putting a dent in that with what they did in college last year, just compared to what they've had. And we've been begging them to take a pass rusher forever. Every year we think they're going to do it, and they never do. And this year they actually did it. And then they came back and got another one. So they paid a steep price to do it. But I'm fascinated to see these guys who add a lot of speed and athleticism to go along with guys that know how to rush. So there'll be guys I'm definitely keeping an eye on this year to see how quickly they get integrated and how they use them.
So far, the reports are there's been ups, there's been downs. I don't think anything has stuck out. Like Jalen Walker sounds like a guy, he's got to show that he can play on the base downs, and maybe he'll be ahead there, but he has more to learn in terms of the pass rush moves, whereas Pierce has got that juice. And you could see it in the preseason, them kind of setting him up where they got 3 guys on one side trying to create havoc, and Walker's one of them, and then Pierce is all one-on-one on the other side. It's almost like they're setting up Pierce to make that draft pick look good. It's got to look good, DJ. They gave up a first-round pick for him.
I know. That's what, again, add that into the intrigue here of what that looks like for this team. But I can't blame them on. I thought they got tremendous value on Walker, and everybody's been begging them to do something, and they hammered it. They doubled down on it. So this is it's an important year for them. That pick is a top 5 pick, and that goes down as an awful trade. So they need to have a good year.
Woo. Yeah, I mean, even top 10 is questionable. Now, if Pierce is a great player, then no one's gonna complain. But it kind of reminds me of Marcus Davenport in New Orleans, who always got stuck with that. We paid 2 firsts for Marcus Davenport, and he got hurt a lot. But if he hadn't been hurt as much, big if, like he was actually a totally solid first-round player. But people thought of him as 2 firsts because that's what they gave up for him. It's not really his fault. And James Pierce is going to be that player for the Falcons.
All right, I'm going to pick my enthusiasm up right now. I just feel myself got to get more excited about this NFC South. So it's a challenge to myself. You got to coach yourself up sometimes. So are you up now? Are you up next?
Okay, I thought you were firing yourself up.
Maybe just more coffee. I just get a little more coffee here.
Okay. I will not go with a Falcon, by the way. I guess since we're here, I'll just bring this up. You're not on this show for me. You didn't make any moves. What are you going to, It's a little weird, actually. It's actually a reminder to make a real point about it. This regime's been there for a minute. They made a lot of moves last year. Like this is kind of a go time year. They're saying they like this roster. At least in terms of adding veterans, like Leonard Floyd was
or Kirk took all the money.
Right, that's part of it too. So I got no Falcons. I do have a couple Panthers, and I'll give you one here. Tre'von Moehrig is a Mike Mayock special.
He's a good
we
player.
love mentioning Mike Mayock on this show. Drafted back with the Raiders, the number 1 guy, DJ, where I send out a rough draft of my top 101 free agents to a few people in the league or smart writers, analysts. I should do it to you, but I just figure like you're kind of busy. You don't need any more extra work. Moehrig, who I had pretty low on my initial rough draft, I got back more than any other person. Like, oh, you got to move him up. He's a good player. He's going to get more than you think. He's maybe the best safety that's available in this class. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to you all. And they made me look smart because he got a lot of money and he's gonna try to upgrade this Carolina secondary.
So if you go back to that draft, they took Alex Leatherwood with the 17th pick and Moehrig with the 43rd pick. And I remember on draft night saying, because there was a lot of criticism about the Leatherwood pick, but I said if they would have just flipped those, Moehrig to me was a first-round player who fell. And Leatherwood was a 2nd-round player or a 3rd-round player, one of the two who got pushed up. So to me, it's kind of where you were picked. But I thought he should have been picked as a first-round player. And if he just had that background of as a first-round pick, the way he's played, especially as of late, we would be talking about him a lot more as one of the better, not just young safeties, one of the better safeties. Played really well.
It's a good point on attention. Like guys who get taken later, not only do they tend to suffer in terms of contract renegotiations, although Moehrig got all the way to free agency and then he got paid well. Like he really did get top safety.
It kills him in awards. It kills him in Pro Bowls and all pros and all that stuff.
Yeah. And partly it's because, it's hard for the national media out here. I do my best, but to follow all 32 teams, I mean, sometimes you see some of these all-pro votes. I was doing some research on Justin Fields earlier this week, and I learned, I don't know if you're aware of this, TJ, that Justin Fields got a 5th place MVP vote a few years back when the Bears, and I had to go check. I was like, was that the year he had all the rushing yards? Yeah, okay. They went 3-14 that year. Someone who should have their vote taken away voted him 5th for MVP. So not everyone is covering the league really completely, or people are just homers.
I just know we're going to all this, all the stats and analytics and all this formula. We've got AI, all this stuff. I think you're you're going to end up losing your vote, Greg. This thing's going to end up being computerized.
I want it.
Who wins these
I've been
awards.
pushing. I deserve a vote. You got Tom Brady and Teddy Bruschi voting for Joe Thuney Offensive Player of the Year last year because he was his teammates. Take their votes away.
Do you not? You do not have a vote then?
No.
For some reason, I thought you did have a vote.
I'm not allowed, I believe, as an NFL employee.
That's right. You're right.
Or maybe that's Hall of Fame. They wouldn't give it to me. To make one last point on the Panthers and Moehrig. Actually, I'll combine my next one. Tershawn Wharton is a defensive tackle that they signed, and I can talk about him a little if you want, DJ, but my overall point is this Panthers defense needs to get a lot better. There's a lot of believers in the league. I know you know this, that Ejiro Evero is a good coach, but they were not a good defense a year ago. And Panthers fans will say, look, if we can just improve to average on defense, this team could be pretty frisky in 2025.
I remember talking to somebody there in that building before the season, and it was like, we got a great corner and a great defensive tackle. And then he's just like, outside of that, like we're trying to piece this thing together at this point in time. So, a lot of moves were made there, and we'll see how that defense comes together. They are going to be fun offensively. Can that get me to my next one here?
No, I want to say one nice thing about Tershawn Wharton, because I think the average fan is like, who is Tershawn Wharton? He got paid a lot of money, first of all. He was kind of the backup plan to Milton Williams, but he reminds me.
They thought they were getting Milton Williams. They thought that was done.
Yeah, they did. And that's disappointing for them. But Wharton is a guy, and I got to admit, I watched more of the playoff film because you have more time. There's less games. Wharton popped throughout all last year's playoffs, kind of like Milton Williams. Like, he is a big boy who can move people around, and they have some big guys there up front. Derek Brown, who you alluded to, their defensive tackle, is outstanding. And then they brought in Patrick Jones from Minnesota, Bobby Brown from A'Shawn Robinson. These aren't household names, but just a lot of big defensive linemen that, if nothing else, can help them stop the run, which was disastrous a year ago. So Wharton, just keep an eye on him. If this defense gets good, they could be a very frisky team this year.
No, we'll see how they do. I go to the other side of the ball with them for my next one because their first round pick and Tetairoa does not like Tet. I've been told numerous times. So Tetairoa McMillan, T-Mac, he's okay with T-Mac, so you can go that route. But you've already seen early in the preseason, Bryce likes throwing him the ball. He gives him some catch radius and room for error down the field. So you're going to be able to just put some balls up and trust that he can go up there and get them. I still have some concerns just with press, like how he's going to do against physical press coverage. I'm sure he's going to see a lot of that early on to prove he can handle that. Not going to wow you with separation down the field, but someone who can win in tight areas. And with Bryce, he's someone who's comfortable in his accuracy and his touch and saying, I'll give you a chance, man. Go make a play for me. And I think you'll give him those opportunities. What
do you think of that wide receiver room in general? I know you weren't low on McMillan.
I just wasn't
in your top 20.
Yeah. He just wasn't all the way up there. And there was some urgency concerns with me. Like, I just didn't think he always dialed it up. And I thought there was some loafs, and I didn't think he necessarily played to his size. Like, he is a big guy, and I don't think he necessarily played quite as physical as that. He's just got unbelievable body control and the ability to make contested catches. But to me, at the line of scrimmage was a concern, and some of the urgency stuff was a concern.
You had him behind Golden, but then again, you had him in the top 20 receivers. I mean, 20 players
20
overall.
Players, yeah. In a draft, that's totally normal to have guys in that range go where he went.
It's a weird room. So it's him, it's Leggett, it's Adam Thielen, who still can play. It's Hunter Renfrow, who looks pretty good. Jalen Coker is a young guy who made some plays. One thing with McMillan, they drafted Terrace Marshall pretty high. I know this wasn't the same regime. Yeah. They drafted Leggett pretty high. Those guys didn't show up right away in practice and preseason and camp and everything, and kind of just stamp themselves at like, hey, I'm a starter. We're counting on you. Everything, it's not perfect, but we like what we see like right away. And it seems like McMillan has. Like, they are counting on him a lot. I think he's
a better football player than those guys. Those guys were, in Legett's case, a little bit tight, but height, weight, speed, a little bit raw. Marshall just, wasn't a featured player there in the group he was at LSU. So, this is a more accomplished player. He's just a better football player who I think will have an impact.
Okay, so that is our Panthers section of the show.
A lot of
Get
Panther
ready,
talkers,
Saints fan. It's we'll talk about you after the break. We are back on 40s and free agents, and it's Daniel Jeremiah's favorite division, the NFC South. You are up, my friend, for an impact rookie.
Well, you got a chance to see this guy live week 1, I guess, right? I did Hall of Fame game. So, yeah, the second game for me, but week 1 of the preseason. Tyler Shough, quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. Played well in the game we were at, Gregg. Had a pick 6 in that. You don't want to see that, but I thought he bounced back well. Screen game, he was comfortable with that. Kellen Moore did a good job of kind of giving him some controllable plays, got him on the move a little bit. He's big. He can move around. He's got a live arm. There's going to be, to me, I think it's kind of funny because he's a more athletic version to me of Jameis, but there's a chance he could be a strong double agent. Like he could run up both sides of the scoreboard. I think he's that's the type of player he could be.
That's interesting because, when Jameis was coming out and even young in his career, he got a lot of credit for being able to see the field really well, being able to anticipate, being able to read defenses. Now, he couldn't help himself being too aggressive, but he got a lot of credit for, having the whole picture. Peyton Manning would talk up Jameis Winston and his, intellectual skills. Do you see Tyler Shough like that in terms of being able to kind of go through his progressions and see the field like that?
I think he's highly, highly intelligent. I think I got to see more at the NFL level in terms of asking him to read the full field and do all that stuff. But I mean, I'm just pull up my notes on him. He's got 4 degrees, Gregg. He's 25 years old. He's big and sturdy and strong. He can drive the ball. He does get to number 3. I've got that in my notes. So I have seen him get to number 3 in progressions, which is good. Make some big off balance throws. There's times where I think pocket feel and awareness is a little bit of an issue at times. So we'll see how he does there. But gosh, the guy's almost 6'5", 220 pounds. He ran 4.63. Like he is a big athletic guy who can make some big time throws. It's just, I think there's going to be some, to really use a current reference, there's going to be some big bucks and there's going to be some whammies.
Wow.
I like to keep my references a good 35 years old. I like to.
That is a reference. It took me a second to register, but press my luck, is it?
Yes,
press your luck.
Very well done. Something like that. Yeah.
Well, you don't know this,
but the little gremlin on there. Boop, 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 boop.
I once had a job, which I think you would have appreciated. I worked for a show called Most Outrageous Game Show Moments 4 and 5, I believe. And my job was to just watch old game shows all day long, looking for outrageous moments. 10 hours a day, DJ, for weeks at a time. People think that's a great job. It gets old pretty fast.
What was the most likely show to deliver good content in that regard?
The best show by far and the most likely show was the
Price
old
is
Match
Right?
Game.
Match Game.
They were drunk. It was fun. I'll ride for Match Game. There was a lot of Scrabble. Was
Brian Billick? Wasn't Brian Billick on Match Game?
I believe so. We would have some old celebrities, but this is what I did right out of college. Yeah, you mentioned Shough. 4 degrees. Do you know what the degrees are in? That's insane.
Not off the top of my head. Yeah, he went to college for 11, 15, 17 years. Yeah.
The progress, by the way, for him is exactly what you want out of a rookie quarterback that starts slow. Like, it reportedly was not good early. There actually was quite a bit of separation between him and Spencer Rattler, just in terms of being able to run the offense. And every week, every practice, you saw it in the preseason, you hear that was Shough's best practice. That was Shough's best practice. And it's getting better and better, and he's getting more and more comfortable. So we'll see. He's the guy you would think they want to win that job. I have Justin Reid for the Saints as a good pickup. We know he's got the job. He had the job even before Honey Badger retired. If you remember, Honey Badger retired right at the start of training camp, and then they brought in Julian Blackmon. This team, it's a weird build. They are definitely a veteran team for the most part on defense. You have Cam Jordan and Granderson and Demario Davis and Pete Warner. And you talk to people there, and Brandon Staley with Justin Reid. I think the entire team is already looking at him as a leader and a guy who in that defense is going to help get that secondary set. And if this team has any path to be competitive this year, it is through that defense. And I've always thought he's an underrated player, won a couple of Super Bowls, been to another, and has helped every team that he's been on. And the excitement level for him, I know inside that building among the players and the coaches is very high. They are very happy with who they have in Justin Reid, the safety.
Yeah, look, to me, he's a dependable, reliable player. When I look at this defense on a whole, though, I just, age-wise up front and impact-wise, what are you going to get? Brissy is a good player. When I look at their group at this point in time, and where these guys are in their careers, with Chase Young, again, solid, but I don't see anybody, and Cam was that guy forever, but I don't see
Kool-Aid's getting a lot of pop.
No, Kool-Aid's done well in the second, but I'm just talking about the front. And I used to have to work on the advanced scouting reports when you're playing a team, and we would kind of just highlight the guys like, hey, you don't want this guy to beat you. Like, this guy is going to demand extra attention. Who is that guy on that front? I don't know that they have one.
Yeah, it'd probably be Brissy if he took a big jump. That would be your best hope. But you're right.
It's good, solid player. I just don't think you have to game plan around anybody on that front.
But it's Brandon Staley, your old guy's revenge. He's.
Well, I think he's going to try and not give up big plays and just try and have a slow bleed there.
I do want to point out, you said I got to see Shough in person, and that was through your largesse. He gives me all this grief here on the show. And then when he hears that I'm going to a Chargers Saints game with my son, he's a good human. Dan, the first thing he does, he's like, oh, you can have my tickets. You can take my Chargers employee tickets, sit nice and comfortable and enjoy some preseason action. So I thank you for that, DJ. And we got a new favorite player.
Yeah. Marlo Wax, baby. Let's go. There's two options how you look at that whole situation, Gregg. Number one, I'm an underrated good friend to you and looking out for you and wanted you and your son to have a wonderful evening. Number two, trying to convince anybody in my family that it's worth driving from San Diego to SoFi to watch the Saints quarterback competition unfold wasn't an easy sell.
That's why partly we wanted to go. My son loves ball and he wanted to see some relevant action. Whereas like the Rams and the Chargers, they're just throwing out backups, but the Chargers are more interesting. They got Trey Lance. I would say to parents out there, yes, that first of all, preseason's underrated because it's just a little more chill. It's like good for kids. The regular season.
Yeah, get them a pretzel and
everyone's drunk. If you want to leave early, you don't feel bad about it, and then you can find underrated gems. And I know we're in the NFC South and we're way off track here, but what was his name? Marlo Wax.
Marlo Wax. Yes,
he was so good in that game. We left that game saying, Marlo Wax, my son, without me saying a word, is my new favorite player, number 58. So watch out for Wax for the Chargers. There's a tip.
Yeah, Marlo Wax, also the great name of a band and something you could put on your surfboard. So it's
amazing. That's my last veteran. I think you have one more, and then we got our wild cards.
Yep. My one more is Nick Scourton. So Nick Scourton with the Carolina Panthers. At Texas A&M, he transferred from Purdue. To me was one of the more interesting guys in the draft discussion because had all that production the year before, changed his body, put on a bunch of weight at A&M. They wanted him to bulk up and then drop that weight off and then crush the workout circuit, and all the D-line coaches fell in love with him. But somebody who is a skilled pass rusher and has a good feel. So I think he gets a lot of playing time. I think he has a chance to be an impactful guy.
Yeah, another guy that could add some juice. They need some young players to step up and help that pass rush. He's one of those guys too, where the draft nicks, DJ, before they saw like your rankings and all the other, big rankings, I feel like I was seeing like mocks and things with like Nick Scourton, top 5, top 10, but then they kind of saw what you were doing and what maybe how the league was, and they were like, oh, I guess we were wrong on that guy. So the guy at least that people thought of as like a very high ceiling type of player.
Yeah, he ended up, if I pull up to see where he ended up ranked for me, I think he was in my top 50, but back end of the top 50. Nick Scourton was 45. So he was my 45th player when it was all said and done. But again, someone that was like a different human being based off what we saw there. Wild card time?
Sure. Go for it.
I'm going to go to the same team, and I'm going to go Princely Umanmielen. and I probably messed that up.
No, that's
I'm
right.
so out of
You
practice.
said it very slow and uncomfortable, but you were right. Yeah.
The best is at the Senior Bowl. They were doing it after practice, like one-on-ones where they would highlight a couple guys, and he goes, coach goes over. We have him mic'd up, so he goes over to Princely and he's like, "Hey, what's your last name?" He goes, "Uman Mielan," and he goes, "What?" And he says it again. He goes, "All right, in this one-on-one, Prince," and like he is not even going to take a swing at that thing.
That's what you guys did as broadcasters too. He's gotten a little pop in the preseason reports.
I think he's wearing 30. Reports. Is he wearing 33? I watched his play time and took a peek at him. I have to go back and double check, but I think he was the one that I was watching. Yeah, he was. He is 30.
Larry Bird, Larry Legend. Yep. You think it's for him?
I kind of like that. He's long and lean, and that 33 actually kind of looked kind of cool on him coming off the edge. But
I guess
he has
do numbers have
talent,
meanings
man.
anymore? Don't we want numbers to have meanings? It's confusing.
No, he looks like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming off the edge, dude. I absolutely am a fan of that. But long, athletic, he can win high side, so he wins at the top of rushes. He's got a good feel for like wrist control. You'll see him just latch onto guys, get their hands off him. He can really close and cover ground. I'm telling you, if you just watched, he's not a real power guy. That's kind of the knock on him. But if I put together 25 play highlights on everybody in the draft and you just watch like his 25 best plays, you'd be like, that guy might be a top 10 pick. Like he's got some freaky stuff to him. So we'll see how that all comes together. But again, I think with him and Scourton, those two young guys to watch there.
All right. I think we're a little higher on the Panthers defense maybe with all these additions than I expected.
I'm kind of talking myself into thinking the Panthers might be decent on defense right now.
I think so. And Canales has that Pete Carroll vibe of like getting everyone on the same page and certainly turn them around by the end of last year in the offense. I'm excited. I'm also excited that my guy, Teddy Bridgewater, is back in the league. That's my wild card. I just want
that's Coach Bridgewater to you.
Hey, he wins a state championship for his high school, and then he comes back into the NFL. I mean, he was back in it at the end of last year too with the Detroit Lions. And I'm saying this with a tongue in cheek because I think he's, an underrated, always a good, story and good player. But hey, if Baker Mayfield misses a game or two, this is a team that I've said I think can compete for the Super Bowl. So can Teddy Bridgewater keep them competitive for a few games while Baker Mayfield is out? So, if it's not like a long-term injury, I'm assuming he gets the backup job over Kyle Trask. Give me some Teddy Bridgewater back in my life in 2025.
So we always talk about comps, right? And they always like us. I don't get any pressure to do this, but it's always with scouts. We always challenge ourselves to do the cross-racial line comps, so that you don't just compare every white slot receiver to Edelman or whatever. So I was thinking of who I would want to play Teddy Bridgewater in the Teddy Bridgewater movie. I'm going to go Dennis Quaid. I'm going to go Dennis Quaid because he was in some baseball movie where he was like a 35-year-old who then ended up going and making his way into the major leagues, like had a whole separate life. Teddy was done with football, had a whole separate life, went out, won a championship as a coach, and now he's coming back. So Dennis Quaid might be a little old to play this, but that's my pick to play Teddy Bridgewater in the Bridgewater movie.
I think that's a little confusing, maybe problematic. I'm not sure, but I like the idea of that.
Isn't Teddy, that who played the
sort
guy,
of
right?
The Dennis Quaid
movie?
of actors is maybe Teddy of quarterbacks. Underrated, like a higher success rate than you realize. He shows up, you're happy to see him there. And so that's where
he have a weird, I don't know if Teddy Bridgewater has a brother who went off the reservation and moved to Canada, but
I mean,
there's always
DJ, you really, I make a joke about the dad jokes, but we're the same age, and yet your references are always way older.
I'm the youngest of four. So like, I love 80s and early 90s music. I was class of 96, but I still like a lot because I was the guy my brother's 7 years older than me. I was riding around in his Ford Ranger truck, as a kid. So that was the stuff that I dug.
Okay. So that's why you're super into Randy Quaid and Shot, the pop
big little House on the Prairie guy. I mean, who doesn't love Perry Mason? Come on.
Yeah, we're 1 year apart. I'm watching, MTV a little. Yeah, at least that somewhat.
By the way, Tyler Shough to rewind. Criminal Science and Poli-Sci from Oregon, at Texas Tech, Masters in Interdisciplinary Studies at Louisville. we're still efforting to get that information, but he did collect the degree there. So
interdisciplinary studies, that's not a real.
That's a little vague.
I feel like
sounds
that's
pretty
like,
easy.
hey, you just need to go to school and you got to do something. But
what did you major in, Gregg?
Great student. I was a political science major. Tulane
Okay.
didn't offer communications. I really did want to go into broadcasting, but they didn't have it. But they gave me a little scholarship, so I went there anyways. And so I took poli-sci. I regretted it.
All right. Well, criminal science and poli science. I mean, Shough's got one of your degrees, so he's already got that one in the back pocket.
And
so
as we wrap this up, I don't even need to ask what DJ majored in at App State. It was just football. That's what DJ majored in. We'll be back next week.
Broadcast management and marketing in the communications department.
Oh, wow.
Man. Yeah. That's why I'm so good at marketing this great show that we're doing, man. I'm really putting those tools to use. A little different time and era. We were talking about billboards and things like that, and in those years, not really the marketing tool of choice these days, but nonetheless.
Hey, word of mouth. Let your friends know. 40s and free agents. We'll be back next week, wrapping up our division look, AFC East, NFC East. And yeah, go ahead, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. Don't tell us which host that you like better. We'll see you next time.